it was a really cool Psylocke. So there's a lot of good things to report home about. Now it seems like we've got our game locked in. Of course, there's a wealth of choices for where we want to take it, and it looks like we're going to go back in with a team that we've already seen here today called Russgbeat. Now, curiosity, you might recognize Fattyam, and they fanned Jeff off rip. I'm gonna grit my teeth and move through that. The interesting thing is that Fattyam has the same logo as Mr. Donuts from earlier on, so I'm not sure how that one's transpired, but there you go.
Is it an
big fan of the
in-game
Philadelphia
logo?
Eagles?
Maybe is it one that you pick in game? I don't know, but
Maybe.
yeah, obviously, Damp Kit Kat is someone very well known that everybody going into games against them is deciding to ban out that Jeff. And I think it hurts you every time it happens. Hella ban, a bit more standard. The Protect on Luna Snow. I'm really hoping that we then get a Loki ban, because I can't live through that spam of ultimates again. It just, it will break me. Because it really did. That turned from, I feel like, a competitive video game to a game of bluff, like Jeff. And I think it hurts you every time it happens. Hella ban, a bit more standard. The Protect on Luna Snow. I'm really hoping that we then get a Loki ban, because I can't live through that spam of ultimates again. It just, it will break me. Because it really did. That turned from, I feel like, a competitive video game to a game of bluff. Like, who can time each other out? Who can get things back into control? We've seen the group save. The thing is, it might end up being Namor. It depends what they want to be up against. Obviously, that combination of Luna Snow and Namor is super powerful. So, yeah. that kind of makes more sense. But it does mean that they will likely be free to pick Loki, unless it's going to be taken out by the team who's opted to protect the Luna Snow, which would be a bit of a peculiar one, but I guess it depends what they have planned.
Yeah, it is unlikely, I would say, to go the way of yeah, indeed. We're just going to end up switching it up. Unlikely to go the way of Loki. Bucky taken out of play makes sense, has huge impact throughout the game. I just can't get over the fact that, I mean, how far and wide must the story of Damp Kit Kat go when it comes to his Jeff play? And the fact that we have a player so storied throughout the ranks of this tournament for his Jeff play, and he's not allowed to play Jeff while I'm watching, makes me very, very sad. But maybe we'll get to see it later on. I'm going to keep saying that so I feel a little bit better. The highlight for me, though, obviously Damp Kit Kat did put up a good performance when it came to the Storm earlier, but Cody was unreal. I think single-handedly won one of the games on Mr. Fantastic, and I was especially impressed because when we came into the game, I was a little bit like, well, okay, Cody's trolling. You know, I'm not sure he knows what he's doing. Because Mr. Fantastic generally is just mediocre, but in his hands, it's something special.
But that was the thing I enjoyed, was it was, as I said at the time, the quasi-triple Vanguard. It's technically only the double, but you have that Mr. Fantastic also sort of bullying the front lines and then being able to sort of stay alive for so long. Now adding in, again, that combination alongside Loki. Although I was going to say for a second I didn't see the pick coming into the other side. I do, however, like the choice of Homunculus, because he's actually gone for the direct counter to those sort of characters. So let's see if that works out.
Yeah, normally we've seen the Thing in play, and not getting it here, it's perfect timing to bring out one of these Wolverines who's earlier on up against the Thing Magneto comp. It just did not work. And especially with Invisible Woman as well, because you can pull your Wolverine right back in as they're diving away with one of your teammates. Nice opening here from the side of Fattyam on the attack. They found their pick. The return, though, from Damp Kit Kat could get a little bit better from up top. Wasn't being spotted, wasn't being focused, but now forced to fall back, and that's when Wolverine dives on in, starts dealing the damage to the tanks. Magneto's out of play. Good pick out of the sky there And with this, it's going to be very difficult to recover. We've lost a front line. We've lost one of the main damage and damage boosters. Plus, your tank's just being pulled deep into enemy lines. Luckily, Magneto here to still grab that shield and keep your tank alive a little longer. Even the punish onto the Wolverine and following up with one onto the Hawkeye. So all of a sudden, this has turned from what seemed to be a snowball for the attacking side into a solid defense.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised. I think it looked like the Wolverine sort of had them dead to rights. I am, however, looking at the fact that Last Stand is available in combination with the potential Strangling Prison. You put those two together and it could be an absolute shredding of this defensive side, potentially going to get grasped in to the middle of the pack, as we are seeing this pop now from the attacking side. The Meteor primed. That is both supports down.
Surely sterner challenges await.
Oh my god, that's just toxic. You hear that? In-game, surely sterner challenges await. Apparently they think it was easy. Doctor Strange certainly does. And Russgbeat, team that performed quite well earlier, off to a good start. The defense holding strong. They've just pushed past the 2-minute mark. And for Fattyam, it's time to get on that site very, very soon. Spider Zero's getting impatient. Damn Kit Kat up top has ult online. Gonna wait out the fate of both worlds. Both will be used once Madiafs has faded away. Anytime now, the big damage will be dealt, but Damn Kit Kat gets picked off before ult can be activated. Eye of Agamotto instead is gonna be their backup, and it gets them a kill immediately. That elimination maybe followed up on with a little bit more as they push them further and further back. The group walls, though, making it difficult to really pursue them and to have that backline damage follow you. Still, though, they do get homunculus.
That's the thing. Each time there's seemingly been openers ready for this attack side, but there's always been a response. Damn Kit Kat has had some struggles. I've noted for a while that Hurricane has been available. Up top, you can see Riddles, or not Riddles, just basically slamming heals and damage in. Flying up top is Pars. Even still, though, again, it is these trades. Once more, we see the usage of that Hurricane. It's done so much damage, leaving Groot standing and not standing for long. I said it'd been a quiet start for Damn Kit Kat, but, well, they have just opened up massively. And Mitch, there is 15 seconds. This is a large attempt. I assume, is there going to be a portal here?
There has to be 10 seconds to get towards that point. It is time to put it in. In fact, we're running out of time. They got to dive straight in. There's no time to waste. Right onto the point. Ultimate's online for both sides, but it's double fate of both worlds for Russgbeat. They can run the clock way down. And with the trade-offs, there's not even a Luna Snow online on the other side, hoping that they can get the ulti online for Madiaf and keep the squad online. They're keeping the health up, but it's not going to last long. All the damage is swinging the way of Russgbeat as Damn Kit Kat flies around. The damage boost connecting onto all of the teammates. Swap up for Glorious to be in right away on the Orange Venom. He might not have the twerk emote yet, but the next best thing, a dominant scoreline, not even a tick acquired.
Yeah, that's devastating. And again, you now look at it and go, okay, this is basically done. You'd have to have a flawless defensive side. You'd have to not lose a single team fight, and you'd have to hope your opponents don't decide to just save up and get some high impact ults. When you think about it, they like playing with that Hurricane, Eye of Agamotto. They can steal ultimates as well. Like, I can't see this hold happening. And the devastating thing is, I feel like there was 2, maybe even 3 very valid attempts from the side of Fattyam. Like, realistically, especially when they were getting the opener at least once or twice onto Damn Kit Kat, I think there was a moment where they lost one of their vanguards. In fact, they definitely did, because the Glorious King had to switch up just to get back in time. So the fact that they weren't able to capitalize on any of those moments is definitely a bit disappointing.
Well, this is not looking pretty for Fattyam. One of the strongest defenses required for this squad to pull it off. And when you look at Russgbeat, Damn Kit Kat I mean, at one point, I think scored a 4-piece. Like, there was ultimate catching off the vanguards, finishing them off with just the standard abilities. Cody has been phenomenal. And I just think you really expect Fattyam to hold on for 4 minutes straight after what we just saw. One tick needed. High ground invasion from Russgbeat. Turret spotted, focused by the whole squad. Immortality for them as well, and they will easily pick off Pars. The rest of the squad, Tom, they weren't in that fight. That was just Punisher against 6, and it went the way you'd expect. Now, an early dive down, though, from Mr. Fantastic has put a bit of a stagger to this play. With no one else falling, they should be able to group and take this push together.
Gonna try and pick them apart, but somewhat getting caught out themselves. It's an aggressive style group combo with the thing that has worked out wonderfully. 3 immediate picks. Oh, I don't think there's anything they can do to hold on to this. In fact, I don't know if there's much value in holding on to this. Yeah, no surprise to see King Bob. You might think that looks silly watching him fall off the map, but they want to group up. They want to go as a squad. And the factor is, they only need a very, very small amount to get the victory here. So being isolated doesn't have a lot of value. Oh, those Loki clones. I really are taking the bullet for him.
Well, with the pick going the way that it did, initially Pars falling and no response, it looked like that could have been the first domino, but they've done well to hold on here. Fattyam, oh yeah, nice pick as well. Anti-air Groot, by the looks of things, wonderful as the dive in. They're not yet looking to pick anyone with the Feral Leap, but the job's done for the opening. Now they move to the spot, and there's no way that you can afford to step off this site. One tick, all they need. The fight has to be here. Got Agamotto online and ready to use for that attacking side, but pushed back by the Punisher. His big guns are out. The fate of both worlds is keeping them in it, but that will soon fade, and that's when the last stand comes in. Big dive from Homunculus. He'll grab 1, 2, in fact, and that should be enough. They've stopped another push, slowed it with some staggers too. Whoa, even get the ultimate out. That could be a mistake from Damp Kit Kat. A risk that doesn't see the reward this time. There's enough players here. There's still healers. You've got the thing as a tank, and yeah, they are just going to force them back and reset.
Not sure what was seen in that moment from Damp Kit Kat, believing that that was the opportunity, but I mentioned the chances of holding on for 4 minutes, and well, with 3 of them are already gone. If anything, it seems like the hard part has been done. You also look towards the ultimates, and if anything, they slightly favor the defensive side.
Wolverine looked like he was in trouble, just a sliver of health, and instead he's got this dive straight in and on to the Strange, but damn, Kit Kat saves the day, keeping the Vanguards online. That could be the domino that ultimately topples this defense, but the response is instantaneous. Instant kills, returning the other way as Fate of Both Worlds is activated. They'll be able to at least close in towards the point, thanks to not Riddles getting them this little bit of stagger, this little bit of survivability. I have Agamotto, and it lands big.
Wow.
Oh, this could be it. Again, it looks like opportunities are presenting themselves. Pars tries to be the hero. He's got immortality fields to fire through, but shots are landing. Damage is being done. They're holding on. 17 seconds left, and it's the turret from Cody that eliminates Pars. They've got players here, but they still need to punch through with dangers. A low HP on Strange. He's being healed up in the back of the site and protected by the thing, protected by Homunculus on the side, and the dive in here causing problems. Glorious King is down. This is disastrous. How are they still holding on here in overtime? Fattyam, they're about to do it. OT pushed to its limits. And one last fight, one final opportunity. They have to stay on the point, but that's making them easy targets. Everybody's turning, and the odds have turned back into Fattyam's favor. They've got a draw out of that neck and neck. That's the first time in a long time I've seen that.
Yeah, I don't even think I've seen that in a ranked game where neither team gets a single point. That is absurd.
What the hell?
And it makes it an insane first map that honestly I don't. Yeah, double MVPs. This is genuinely the wildest scoreboard I think I've ever looked at.
What is going
because
on?
neither team won.
I gotta be honest, man. I don't even know what happens now. Like, if they trade maps, do we do another one? We'll have to find out. This is new ground. This is new territory for me. A draw, 4 minutes to push just one tick of the point, and they can get it done. And that was incredible, man. There were so many picks that seemed to be, again, the first domino falling, the first mistake had been made, and there might not be a way back, and yet they clawed their way back into every single fight. Phenomenal stuff. And now, well, this makes this BO3 very interesting, starting out with a 0-0, a 1-1. I don't even know what we call that.
No, does it now become a best of 4?
Yeah.
The first ever best of 4 because we have to play. Yeah, I'd assume it's 0-0. Nobody won, so yeah, it's not going to have a scoreline for either side. But it's definitely a weird way to start things off. Pure defensive prowess, but again, it seemed like in both cases, both squads had opportunities just to get that, at least the first segment. That's the crazy thing. But we'll have to wait and see who's going to then come out on top. Maybe we'll just have a never-ending streak of draws and they'll get to play all day.
It could be. It could be. I don't know what to expect anymore. Yeah, well, there would. I don't know why they keep doing this, man. I mean, I do know.
I like how Damn Kit Kat is hovering that Jeff, like, please.
5 in a row.
Why would you ban
It's all he
such a
wants.
happy little guy?
All he wants is to play as Jeff. All I want is for him to play as Jeff, and Tom, we're not getting it. It's not happening today. I've accepted my fate. It is what it is. Well, unless he faces off against another Jeff, I suppose. Luna Snow kept into things. Namor ban, we're looking at the same sort of veto, except we're going to have the Hela in play. And I'm curious to see if there's going to be big impact out of that. That was banned out immediately last time.
I like that's the thing. It looks much more like Russgbeat have gone for counters. They've removed the Groot. It definitely caused them some problems in the last map. And the Wolverine. The Wolverine was the game changer. It actually made it so they couldn't get into that site, constantly having problems with their Vanguards. And we've spoken about this team and how effective they are with those Vanguards. How good. Like, I think Jagos especially is someone who is unbelievable with both Groot and Doctor Strange. So just having him almost nullified by the Wolverine, it's not worth it. Just get rid of it.
So the only difference, though, really, or well, one of the big differences, one, we're going to have Hela online and available. Pars is picking that, and I reckon Pars is going to be pretty decent. I think he's Lord on that agent. But then you look elsewhere, and you've got Bucky now available and in play for a Homunculus, which is, again, we look at the previous game, it was Russgbeats that were banning it. So as far as heavy hitting heroes, it looks like Fattyam have come out on top in that they now get to play all the things that they wanted to before. Meanwhile, Damn Kit Kat's just begging for a Jeff.
Maybe the first and last person doing that, but I guess that's a problem. If you become infamous enough, you're gonna get punished. It is crazy that a single player has managed to cause the mass ban of a hero for one of the teams, but we'll see if it works out for them. It hasn't caused Russgbeat too many problems in their previous matches, but that's not a bad start. It seems to be a running theme with Damn Kit Kat having a bit of a slower start on some of these other heroes. And more, look at the ground that's already been taken by this attack. So deep within this first point already. This is looking like a problem.
Yeah, it really is. They're fighting this as if we're about to see the checkpoint claim, but it's just now getting halfway. Russgbeat's effectively being pushed into their spawn, and for Fattyam, that's perfect. Free space. Only now does the contest come in, but it does start with Hela being sniped out by the Vanguard. Visible boundary in play for Fattyam, but they're already one big duelist down. Homunculus has the Kraken's impact online, but you know the second it's activated, King Bob is going to come in with the fate of both worlds, doing his dance and keeping his squad alive. This is not really an easy time for Homunculus to use that. You kind of got to wait for that window to open.
We'll wait for enough damage to be done that the panic button is clicked, and then you have to wait that little bit longer. The problem is your opponents aren't just going to sit pretty. Damn Kit Kat starting off again. Might win one over against the Hela, but it doesn't seem like anything more. And Cody, this is the problem. The second they get even the slightest bit of momentum, they start to push that line further and further back. 2 for Damp, 1 coming in for Cody, and a complete shutdown of this push.
Well, that's it. The way that we saw this used well to avoid Fate of Both Worlds in previous fights was that the Bucky was using ult and then firing it onto the Loki. So like you would also the clones, right? And because if you're inside the Fate of Both Worlds, well, you can't die. You can't get the reset. You can't keep on firing back. That's dangerous. Pulling in Stephen Strange quite close range, and oh, let's say the same thing's happening over here for Hela. Fate of Both Worlds activated. That's not Riddles keeping the squad alive as up goes Hela into the sky, but immediately being sniped out of it by Pars, who has the ult of his own ready to be deployed, waiting for their own to fade away. Perhaps as Fattyam keeps the squad in fighting form, pushing ever closer to this checkpoint. Are just a few meters away, and the picks are coming in. Russgbeat sent back. Eye of Agamotto put into play by Russgbeat, but it feels like a desperate play that there really wasn't the backline damage there to pick up what was being put down.
It's not a bad response. They definitely got a little bit dicey with a few of those fights, but I also think, again, once Cody goes, their frontline push becomes so much more difficult to hold on to. And when that Goddess of Death doesn't really find anywhere near as much as they were hoping for, it's a very different battle. Homunculus, again, the player that we saw just in the last game playing over on the Wolverine, definitely seems to be a large threat to this defensive side, and already an impactful opener in this battle.
We're at 3 minutes left, and they're halfway to that second checkpoint. Fattyam with quite a lot of options coming up in terms of damage dealing, but again, we're on board with King Bob, and you see the problem that's developing. Fate of Both Worlds is there, and it's going to be activated the second the sound cue is given away that Homunculus wants to get involved, that there's going to be a big play. It was Fattyam that started that one out, though. Here comes Homunculus with his own, looking to dive right onto them, but not Riddles. Goes ahead and activates his own little dance, keeping the squad in it. I mean, it is just the trade-off of those Fate of Both Worlds. We keep seeing this, and such an annoyance normally, yet they're chasing them down. That's both Luna Snows, the Loki in disguise, eliminated, and Fattyam really making this one look a lot easier than you would have expected. There will be a portal to get them back in, though, before this checkpoint's taken.
Yeah, it was a little bit hesitant. That's the only thing. It took them some time to make that decision, and because of it, and now within just minimal meters away, Jagos has done well, but is taking a mass amount of damage, and is it going to survive any longer? It is such a minimal amount. The bounce from above coming in from that Mr. Fantastic, but you are not invulnerable while that is going on. You are very much able to be taken out. Well, it looks very easy in the end from Fattyam. Well, 3 minutes. Is it enough, Mitch? Because I'll be honest, this final ramp, have we seen anybody complete it today? I think it was mass failures all the way through.
No, yeah, it was a tough showing. It was a very tough showing, I'll tell you that. Getting all the way to the end of the Master Weaver is not going to be easy. The way Fattyam have been playing so far, 2 minutes 30 on the clock. Swap ups though for Russgbeat. They've gone over to a Magneto now, back to a Magneto after the portal used earlier on. Initial fights, wow, favored Fattyam by, well, a landslide. There's nothing to be said about Russgbeat's defense other than the Fate of Both Worlds is pretty good, but for now they're being shut down. 2 ultis.
Oh, it's close.
We started out with Loki claiming the Fate of Both Worlds. He'll make it to point. Then in goes the invisible boundary. A problem, as Fattyam has at least claimed them a moment. If this Meteor M finds a healer, perhaps it's in business for Russgbeat, but the trouble starts to brew. They've invested a lot of ultimates into this one, and they'll pick up Homunculus, setting a reset with both duelists back in the spawn. trying to make this a little bit more costly in terms of the time. They will succeed on that front.
Decent trade back, but again, the timing to get into position is going to be difficult. They got to be careful not to overextend from these sort of spots. And while Homunculus finally gets back and is dealt with within a matter of seconds, a solid freeze from the Lunar Snow. Also a trade immediately as again they get back to point, continue to reduce that space. It was just 4 meters from the end when they began their challenge. Now it's quite a bit further.
Galactic Legends been here for a while, and now it's going to be activated. Big pickup to start. A second as well. Magneto, Loki, and Hela all in the dirt. That is a beautiful response from Russgbeat. We said nobody's made it to the top of the ramp, Tom. It's not looking like that's going to change here, but for Fattyam, they're up against one big ultimate from King Bob. They'll probably also be up against the second King Bob ult from Not Riddles. But they have 5 ultis of their own. If ever there was a chance, 6 now. This is it.
The final push, the final time, but even still, they've got to try and counter out. That's a great start. Homunculus may even just want to dive off of this, being able to remove one of those big Vanguard players. A retreat needed, and immediately they're going to come back in again with that invisible boundary. The problem is the players are still here and fighting. Another brawl is from above. That Goddess of Death to rain down on the opponents, and Meteor M as well. They are looking to try and wipe these remaining players, but they are still sticking around, still clinging to life. It is so desperately close to being over that line, and they will complete it. Something that was a huge struggle early on, and I won't say it was easy for them.
Yeah, not quite easy. An impeccable performance. That Kraken's impact right at the end, able to pick up so many of those eliminations, and even just the stall potential that was there for that team to maybe buy time for the play back, for the portals back, all that sort of stuff, eliminated by just how quickly they were able to decimate that final push. Now Fattyam moved to the defensive side, and we've got a lot of good signs early on from this squad. I'm quietly optimistic, Tom, that this time we won't get a tie. That's my prediction.
This time it would need to go
would have to be
to OT.
precise.
So yeah, it'd be impressive. But no, I think that's the thing. A solid performance. If we've seen anything from their opponents, is that they can match them toe to toe, pound for pound. We've already witnessed it once. There isn't too much surprise if this was to go to overtime as well. That being said, I do think that the likes of Homunculus did an incredible job. Like the amount of damage he was able to find, the impact on an ult that is being cancelled pretty much every single time is impressive.
Oh, so
ready to see some early contact.
And Damp Kit Kat, we've seen this before, is going to be picking up the Mr. Fantastic, a bit more dive to this alongside Cody. It can get busy around those back lines. Fattyam will have to be careful, but and they've got good DPS for it. Cody in there with the damage. There's that dive I was talking about. Playing a little bit of Jeff gameplay on the flank, focus the healers, get that damage through. We'll do it with the stretchy arms instead of the spit. And things are looking good as they force them back.
Even still, you've got to be wary of the accuracy of Homunculus. Looking to try and drag some of the players away, but also isolate the healers if necessary. Already going to see that God of Mischief thrown in to put the invisible boundary down a lot again, just in terms of all that healing. Straight away, though, Homunculus will pounce, and that is dealing with King Bob.
Just cutting through those back lines, as we've seen so many a time. Fattyam doing well on this first choke point. Clobbering time came online for Russgbeat, but it was the glorious their thing that got shut down off rip. To go, oh, he's also going to meet the same fate, and now nothing to do for Russgbeat but go and fall back, regroup, and look to make this push happen together. But they've ended up going down, and for Fattyam, Well, I look at Russgbeat, you know, decent ultimates online, but the problem is for Fattyam, as soon as they get worried, Invisible Boundary is going to go into play. They've got Meteor Ram to shred the backlines, to shred so many of those squishies. Well, I would say so many, there's 3. Good opportunity for Fattyam.
Good chance by the time they use this, there'll be a regeneration for Loki as well. Okay. Jagos has just pulled off one of the best Meteor M's we've ever seen. The fact is that ultimate doesn't do anywhere near as much damage as you might expect it to. But he has found the value. That is absurd. I was about to start talking about how they need a lot of time left for that final point, and this was taking quite a while to get through. The thing is, though, there is still that strange portal. It might have looked like it was over, but it's only just begun.
Meteor Ram lands, not able to break it in time. That's the Loki down. That's a potential healer ult for this big fight. Removed. Pars up top, trying to pick them off. Good movement, but not good enough as Cody is going to meet his fate. Pars very, very low on this fight and is able to be dropped by Invisible Woman. That's King Bob with a double pick off, a triple pick off on the healer. And that has gotten them to a checkpoint.
I still think it was worth for the opposing side that additional delay. Making sure that time at least going to be a little bit low. There's still 3 minutes to try and make that move for this second point. At times, it even feels like this middle point can be the easier of the 3. A lot more angles that you can fight through. Damage to the house can be done to give a lot of gaps and space for your aggressive players. You can already see the attempts that are being made, and I say attempts because that did not go particularly well.
I'm waiting to see Invisible Woman go fire someone off the edge of the map, but Fattyam are a little bit too far forward for that to be the case just yet. Fighting inside the house and straight through. They've kicked down the door on this aggression from Russgbeat. Not a lot that they can do to respond again on the regroup, but Fattyam with a big ult advantage coming into the next fight. Maddie can protect them if things start to go awry, but it's the Kraken's impact I look at with Invisible Boundary not online just yet. All it takes is one connection and things could really fall apart. We hear the Loki ult activated. The question is, who is the target? And it will be Invisible Woman again for the Boundary. Fattyam getting free control, and they couldn't even see Pars up top. So that was a freebie as he just shot down on them. Not Riddle's good for 1, but here's the problem.
Yeah, and it's the frontline push alongside Homunculus doing well, but that same combo, the second he moves, the thing is right alongside. And while I don't think there's going to be anyone left standing by the time Homunculus is finished. In fact, having to flee back to the spawn. As said, this point at times can seem at least a little bit easier, but with 1 minute 40, I am not feeling confident right now for what Russgbeat are going to be able to do.
125 on that clock. Push needs to see success almost immediately. We need to see a pick coming through, and for now that is quite a difficult and quite a big ask. Immortality Field's already been put down for that defensive side. I'm waiting to see Pars pop the ulti, go up above, cause that damage, and I think right after this Invisible Woman ult that was stolen by not Riddles, we could see that come through. If they need it, they might not. Magneto is just making waves on the front line. Not Riddles. I guess Loki in disguise has been shut down. And again, we go to 40 seconds left. This has to be flawless.
I don't even know if they'll be able to do it, because the thing is the level of impact they have on the ults the other side have been massive so far. We haven't really seen the value from Cody in a while, and well, they've had to try and counter things out fairly early. This is not the fight that they were looking for, but the Glorious King has done well. That's at least one pass from above. They have not been able to deal with him, just playing in these awkward positions. Look at even try and come in from behind, and it's going to be forced into the ult from above, looking to fire down on opponents. In the meantime, this aggressive push onto the healers, just trying to hold them in the backline, already hitting that OT. They will be likely to win this fight, but they have got a long way to go.
That's just on Fattyam to not stagger, but the other thing is they've used up those healing ults. Matyaf and their Invisible Woman already down on 10%. So if there's a threat for Russgbeat, sorry, they can, I mean, not Riddles. I think it's going to just activate, take Invisible Woman ult for this next fight. They'll be safe inside of it. Fattyam will be forced to either step into it to take the fight or force back. In fact, I'm getting way ahead of myself. They're fighting deep, pushing them all the way back. Never mind a defensive ult, used or not, I don't give a damn. They're just taking the space for free. Oh, that is decimation, and they've done it. They bought themselves an extra minute and a half, but again, we know just how hard this push can be.
Yeah, it's the late charge, and the thing is, they're only going to get one, at best, 2 attempts at getting up this ramp. Something that I think their opposing side had about 8 attempts. Again, though, they're finding a lot of these freebie picks from afar. Good work from Not Riddles to be able to take down the opponent of Pars. Of course, though, Pars will be right back into the action. Again, their plan is to get up in their opponent's face, but they're already losing this first fight. As said, they're not going to get many attempts at this, but with 2 players down, they are actually going to stick the ult. That's the thing, they will not have that for a later fight, so they need to make this one work.
Yeah, oh, it is now or never. 40 seconds. Unless they lose this fight immediately, they'll have no time to reset, and they're putting it all on the line. Breaking Meteor M off Riff, and not a lot to be said about it. Fattyam with a lot of control up top. They've got Invisible Woman ult as well that's just now fading, and that's when Damn KitKat takes his timing, firing through, ha, he says, and takes a lot of damage right to their back line. Fattyam holding on desperately as they try to fall back for one final regroup, but they're being picked apart. We're about to hit OT. They thought that this win was theirs. It seemed to be under their belt, but now they'll have to rush forward to have any chance. Healers a little bit further behind. This is, I mean, they're throwing themselves head first to try to stop it. They've at least managed to stop it 2 meters from the end, but that payload desperately close to the final marker to bringing us to overtime. Fattyam, they've managed to pick up one with Wosh. The return from Magneto is at least something, but Russgbeat need more, and it's Mr. Fantastic picking them up. Immortality field gone, and Loki, he's being chased down, slammed from behind, and we are going to overtime. We gotta go again.
I don't know how they've managed to do that. Like, again, I think when we were talking about, they ran out of time on the second point. And I was like, oh, that has to be done. That's the one that a lot of people will get through in decent fashion. They struggled, got it through in the last few seconds, running overtime on that point. And then this one, you're coming into it with 1:30. But I think it was how aggressive they were being in front of the payload. They were like, okay, we need this to just keep moving. Someone will stay with it. The rest of us are just going to keep running our way forward and just taking as much ground as we can. And towards the end, well, Fattyam never even got out of the spawn.
Now we saw switch ups as well. Cody, having played the Star-Lord with great success, he decides on that late pivot over to a Hela that seems to be coming with them into this half, and I wonder how much of that is just the damage that Pars was able to dish out. We'll see if he can match him now in the head-to-head battle. Something's got to change. 1 minute on the clock, and last time Fattyam on the attack were able to push so much space off this first fight. I think they got like halfway there without even having, or maybe having one person on the payload. For the most part, it was just a deep dive into the back lines of Russgbeat. Well, also the front, they just pushed the front line back. They made the front line the back line. We'll see how this one works out for the attack. And oh, whoa, big change. Matyaf has just swapped up. We've got a Rocket, Punisher, and Bucky switch up. You know, Russgbeat comes in and says, oh, we need the Hela. The Hela's to play. And Fattyam have switched off it. They've got a new idea.
Yeah, just going for that all-out damage. The thing is, you have so little time. You're not so much looking for picks anymore, you're looking for full wipes. And that is a combination that can find you full wipes. That final judgment, such a powerful ultimate, especially if you can combine it with that Kraken impact. For now, staggering a little bit. Bear in mind, this is all now about how far they can get. There's no more bonuses to how much time they will get. Once that time goes out, if they are moved off the payload, it ends.
What a game we're witnessing here today. 2 seconds, 1, and here we go. Overtime commences. Amplifier put down by Fattyam. Homunculus waiting for his moment, for the Kraken's impact to come through. Damn Kit Kat running deep into their lines and taking down one. That's Pars. A big player eliminated on 81% of the ult as well, but will be brought back in by the rest. That means no other revives. Anyone that goes down now will be removed from the fight, and possibly for the rest of the round. Again, the slam comes in, and Homunculus seeking another prey. He's already dropped one healer. A slam down as well from Whoosh, and all of a sudden it looks like Fattyam's OT is not in as much trouble as it appeared to be. Ultimate active. Here we go from Pars. It should be a wipeout from this squad. Fattyam in OT, they've made it to the checkpoint, and they're gonna keep on going. However far they go, Russgbeat will need to match it, and this task, it's looking gargantuan.
Again, it seems like the clutch plays are absolutely everything. Of course, you're not going to see Pars move from that payload whatsoever. If he takes a step off, then they are in trouble. Picking him apart is going to be so desperately important. Fact is, though, that overtime is so desperately close. It will take next to nothing for them to be maneuvered, but they are almost halfway across the map.
Every meter helps here, and the amplifier going down, the infinite ammo as well. This rocket change-up has worked wonders for Fattyam, and Russgbeat just can't adapt. Every time they're faced with a big fight with an ultimate from either Punisher or Bucky, the defense crumbles, and it's done exactly that again. Maybe King Bob can have a chance if he can lob them into the pit down below, but you're not going to move that turret. You got to look for someone else. They're gonna hit that checkpoint. There's no way. Invis goes down. Maybe it's actually Magneto with the bubble. They break the turret at least, but they gotta stop them here. OT just push them off for 1 second. 90% on Meteor M. A slam in this choke point could be huge if they can get it off, but it's online for both squads at almost the same time. And here comes a big ultimate from Homunculus. He is slamming down all over the point, but the invisible boundary keeps them alive.
There still hasn't been enough contention to clear them. Cody trying to pick them apart, will be able to find a couple. It might finally be the beginning of the end. The slams, the haymakers are what closes it out. It is still an incredible shift from that attacking side. The Reds have been able to get it almost all the way to the second, and bear in mind that when we saw the struggles coming out from Russgbeat, those first 2 points were where they slipped up. So I have to see if they have got a plan in place to get it as far as their opponent.
Wow. This game has delivered, let me tell you. Considering we looked like it was going to be over and stalled out going the way before the second checkpoint of that second attack, and now we're here in OT. There's been a remarkable distance taken with 1 minute on the clock, and now Russgbeat, after changing identity, they came in here and they decided to take the hella that had been working for their opponents, but their opponents swapped off, and now they have to play the mind game of, are we about to run into a defense which still has that Rocket, Punisher, and Bucky? And if so, do we have the right comp for it? There's a lot of questions, and they're the only ones that can come up with the answers. 22 seconds before those doors open, and they will have 1 minute to make it. I mean, the bulk of the way to the end, essentially. What, 2 full checkpoints in a minute without stepping off the point is tough.
Yeah, that's the thing. There is a real value at this stage of just delaying. And it's so difficult to sort of get that right. Like, if you go in for a fight here, you can just slow them enough that they're on that 0 marker, and then from there onwards, you just have to clear them off the point. Although, as we've seen so far, it's a lot easier said than done.
Infinite ammo off rip. Fattyam looking to just put them in their place immediately. Russgbeat doing a wonderful job as well of farming up that ultimate in the very early stages. 30 seconds. We've seen a pick onto Cody. This is okay. They can afford one reset, and they don't even need a reset just yet. Just wait a moment for Cody to come back into play. Now, we've seen swap-ups before. Squirrel Girl's going to be brought into play, noticing that they're all playing in this big clump. Look at the damage output. It's massive, but only one kill. And Pars is immediately brought back into play. Fattyam puts down the ultimate, but no real firepower is said out loud. The voice line cut short by the immediate elimination. Pars meets the same fate. Fattyam holding on, but an invisible boundary to send them back. They might have to concede this space and reset. Well, now they kind of have to reset for another fight. A lot of ultimates used, though, on the side of Russgbeat. Yeah, this Coral Tsunami feels like a little bit of an overcommit.
I guess with the amount of chip damage, probably have it back within a matter of seconds anyway. Of course, that small delay is enough for it to go down to 0 seconds. This now has to be a streak all the way to the second point, all the way to the end of it, in fact. Otherwise, their opponents will be taking the victory, and the opposing side, all they have to do is knock them off once. Clobbering time could be of high impact. But you can see the immediate denial. Getting rid of Pars is huge.
Well, that is it. That ult may have been the turning point, and if it wasn't, you'd imagine Homunculus would be, but both are now down. It looks like stopping this could be an impossibility, but the tanks, the Vanguards are the ones stepping it up. Pars goes down again, but still standing on the point is the Vanguards. It's Maddie just firing in those healing orbs. It's Invisible Woman as well with all these heals. They're barely holding on, and then the firepower comes in. Damage buffed, and it's OT right on the precipice of ending. They can't step off this payload, and they do. Punched into the air by the thing. That's enough to close it out here. What an incredible map this has been. We started this series with a tie 0-0 in Tokyo 2099 Shin Shibuya. Convergence didn't even get started at that point. They couldn't claim the payload, and here it's the exact opposite, Tom. A lengthy map that goes the distance but sees 1-0, I suppose, 2-0. I'm not even sure how we refer to it anymore, but sees that map go over in the other direction. Now we've got one to go, and it could be Fattyam taking it. I think it probably will be Fattyam taking it, if I'm being honest, Tom, because what I've seen here today, that was unbelievable.
Yeah, no, it definitely was coming down to the wire, and I'm not overly surprised whatsoever to see Zenstari end up taking that MVP, because if you watch towards the end, so much of it was the thing with the haymakers just basically slamming the right click and making sure that they couldn't stay on the point long enough. So even if they were near enough that they could keep getting back on, that you just watch that yellow bar just go whoop 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 every time the haymakers someone off the site. Really impressive stuff. And again, I think that when we saw the initial release of the Fantastic Four, the conversations all really surrounded like, oh, how overpowered is the Human Torch gonna be? Like, what are we gonna see from those flaming tornadoes? We were very wrong. The Thing and Invisible Woman have been the two major points when it comes to that update.
Yeah, and you got to think about it as well. Just that extra shielding, having Invis online. You already have the Thing in so many of the comps we've seen so far. It's not been Invis that's been present, yet still the Thing has that immense amount of value. Also, when you're adding in Mr. Fantastic, right? Kind of surprising that I know they didn't win here, but I think it was close enough that we can say it was a pretty good performance. It's been pretty consistent that we've seen Mr. Fantastic involved, which is strange, because again, when you look at ranked, when you look at, I suppose, the success of some of the top teams, it's not something that strikes me as a probability. Now, Tom, we're back into Hero Select. Damp KitKat is optimistically hovering the Jeff. It's now the ban of Fattyam. They wouldn't do it again, would they? No, surely they won't.
No way. That's so surprising. That's the thing. At this stage, you had a draw, you then win. Why risk it? There's absolutely no reason to give Damp KitKat the hero that he wants to be playing. So I think they can comfortably look for the other side. Again, we're going to see this protection of Groot, something that Jagos wants to play, so understandable why that is going to be left onto the board. And again, I wouldn't be surprised to maybe see, I don't know, who would we see on the other side? I guess they're probably going to get the thing anyway, which was definitely high impact for them going into the last. So I'm interested to see who they'll protect. Oh, it'd be the Lunar Snow. I think that's been the same pick each time, in fact, for the side of Fattyam.
Yeah, the protection on Luna, protection on Groot. It's been swapping back and forth depending on instaban. It's either protect Groot or protect Hela on Fattyam's side. Where they take this in the end, well, it's up to them, but I suppose they have been somewhat predictable so far. It had been moving towards the, well, we had Wolverine last time, but obviously with Luna protection, it does generally make sense to remove that Namor. So, okay, Wolverine's going to be online, and that means that Homunculus has that as an option. Pars still seems to be moving towards the Punisher for now. No. Let's swap it up. Let's see him flying about. And you know what the interesting thing is here? That we've seen pretty consistently in this series that Adam Warlock, Mantis, and Star-Lord are all online. In fact, Star-Lord even being used pretty frequently. But again, when you have these comms with Luna Snow available, the ult is just too strong, I think, to take anything else.
Yeah, I think the thing that makes me a bit nervous, though, is that this is now, thinking back to that first map, one of the major issues that Jagos had, at least initially, was that Wolverine. And it's basically free for Homunculus to come right back in with. And yeah, I think it devastated them last time. And when you have a Groot, like, it's so difficult to survive when you could just be stolen away from your healers and, well, basically just shredded with that rampage, with the claws. I don't know. I'm leaning towards the way of Fattyam in this situation.
But again, I mean, it is just to pick your poison, right? Like, do you want to have the Bucky in the form that it's in, the Winter Soldier, or do you want to have the Wolverine? And for Russgbeat, it's the lesser of two evils, and I suppose they think that that's Wolverine. We'll find out. See if they find out the hard way that they were wrong. Russgbeat on point. Just about getting there, but the walls go up behind. They cause some problems. Cut off the heels for a second. It was almost enough to drop Magneto. He's just about able to survive that initial engagement, and one of the key things being that off rip, Cody is going to be playing this Squirrel Girl doing a lot of damage, and with how clumped up they are, again, like, this is just farming for him. Russgbeat, well, they're winning in all the KO fronts and staggering too.
Solid take. Obviously, the initial point went in the other direction, but it's not going to hold much relevancy with that percentage already beginning to count up. I'm also looking at the Squirrel Tsunami being online, although can be blocked if you have a well-placed group wall in your way. Have to see if that comes into fruition. Again, we're seeing this aggressive stance from Damp Kit Kat, just right in the face of opponents with a quick reposition back to the team as they look to re-engage.
Squirrel Tsunami kept in the back pocket, but now you've lost one of your healers. It's time to send it out. It's used up top. It's not made its way to the point just yet. Where is it? Is it stuck up top? Squirrel Tsunami's not done anything.
I don't think it's mattered as much, though, just because of that strangling prison being able to basically take down the majority. We spoke about the saving of that group for Jagos, and as I said, coming up against Homunculus, I don't feel like it's going to work. Has already been forced to switch, and then Zenstari has picked it up and basically helped wipe the full squad with the ultimate. So I feel like, if anything, the ban and shield phase thus far could be playing against them. Are still technically in the lead, though, but when they're not on the point, that is meaningless.
It just sucks for Russgbeat. You know, that's such a powerful ult, especially in a moment where you kind of want them to be shooting at something else or taking a ton of damage. And it's used in like a 1v1 up top. It doesn't bounce down. The wall just about blocked it. Eye of Agamotto and Meteor M activated on site. It's Russgbeat grabbing a double opening. Homunculus no longer a problem, and a healer or two down. This is an easy take, and well, Russgbeat, they had the lead, and now they've got it again.
Yeah, think Glorious doing... I feel like he goes above and beyond with the Meteor M. It's always watching his POV, you think, oh, he's going to get nothing, and then just waiting for that final second build-up, manages to get a multi-frag almost every single time. Luckily, already back in action. Plenty still to play with going into this battle, and again, Zenstari looks to take the fight to his opponents up close.
Oh, nicely done. An easy, strange pick. Russgbeat coming up hot with these picks. It looked like the pick ban phase might not have gone their way indeed. I was with you. Everything was adding up, but 93%. And Wosh having to swap over to Strange just to get them a portal down, to get them towards that point. It's not even on time. It's going to take too long. They were shut down at just the right moment. And well, despite what looked to be a mistake in giving the agents or the heroes that they wanted to the other side, we go to Odin's Archive 1-0 up, and it's not for Fattyam.
Yeah, the funny thing is as well is I feel like we still see the value mainly of Jagos being able to play multiple different Vanguards to a very high level, because that's I feel like there's now been 2 or 3 times from us watching them in multiple games that they've shielded the Groot and then had to just swap off Groot because it didn't work. He goes back onto Strange and he's even better on Strange. Like, it's a very, well, peculiar look to the game where it's like most of the time they're not even playing the hero that they shielded.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2,
It has been a strange one from that perspective. Again, another strange facet being the Squirrel Girl pick as primary for Cody, doing a lot of damage. We've seen a ton of depth, like you mentioned, like these players being able to play so many different roles. Damn Kit Kat. I think it's Damn Kit Kat and Cody that play Mr. Fantastic, right? You've got 2 Mr. Fantastics on a team. Most teams don't have 1. So it's really speaking to Russgbeat's depth in that department. Damn Kit Kat on his way for the deep damage. Raining down fists from above, and fists of fury as discovered by the invisible woman from the other side. That's a big pick with one of the healers taken out. And King Bob forced into using this ultimate by the damage done on point, but that sends them scurrying the other way right into the hands of Cody. Damn Kit Kat causing problems. That's a 3rd pick in this fight, 3 in the opening, and that claims them the point. Again, it's not just that they're playing Mr. Fantastic, they're playing it very well.
Oh yeah, I think soon we'll get to answer the question of potentially what happens if they win themselves the 3rd map of a best of 3, one being 0-0 and then 1-0 down. I genuinely don't know what happens, but I'm excited to find out, because right now they are looking like more dominant within this series. I'm looking at Homunculus though. What can he do here? He's stolen his opponent, and well, happy to make the sacrifice to get rid of Not Riddles.
Yeah, Not Riddles just ulted, so it got cancelled. He only gets 50% as a refund. That's well worth it for Homunculus just to delay those really impactful healing ults. What a pull that was. And now Fattyam, they win the fight as a result because you're 1 healer down. Ult economy and player economy very much going in their favor thanks to that fight. And Homunculus ready with the last stand when he comes back for the fight. Meteor M online, but Pars, he's seen lots of, well, that was a cheeky little position. Pars has seen a lot of players in that choke point. I wouldn't be surprised to hear the judge, jury, and executioner is here.
It's making me a little bit nervous, some of these tight balls with that Squirrel Tsunami online. It's the Eye of Agamotto, but I do wonder if the regeneration is going to be enough to get them through it. No, it is not. They have been mowed down on their way into the site. That is a dominant hold, and Homunculus again is the guy at the front of it. They need to try and rebuild back into this one, but as we've seen from Russgbeat so far, they have been good at playing that late game. They still have themselves some decent ultimates to play with. In fact, almost everything online, but their opponents are in a similar boat.
Well, that's 2 for 2 so far on those early fights that we see going down, where Russgbeat are trying to establish a bit of a front line to fight from, and they get interrupted by just a dive, whether it's Mr. Fantastic or what we just saw there. Pars managing to find the opening here, the ultimate activated, but immediately Fate of Both Worlds is pulled into play. This will keep Russgbeat alive later in the round. Not Riddles also has the ultimate. It's already going to be stealing, and again, that is going to be a big mistake. They've used the ult, but then ran away. They didn't stick together, so one ends up getting picked off. That's one healer down, and Not Riddles is the only one to really have that impact. In comes an Invisible Woman ultimate, and now a big problem starting to brew, because Fattyam, they're winning these fights. They've got free space to fight from, and you're already a healer down. It's about to get a whole lot worse with both Vanguards falling, and a stagger onto Cody at 97%. Nobody can touch, and they're running for the hills. That one goes the opposite way. It's Fattyam claiming the dub, and so we can go all the way to the Bifrost Garden.
It seems like the goal here is to play every single round, every single minute, every single part of this best of 3 series, but it is still possible here and now for Fattyam to close this one out if they're able to take it over the line here. Obviously, still can have a look at what ultimates have already built up. The Meteor M available, the Eye of Agamotto as well for the side of Russgbeat. But that's the thing, you've also got to have it in the back of your minds that if you got a single segment on that very first map where both teams went 0-0, this could be a very different scenario. For one side, the deal could already be done. They could be continuing forward in the tournament. For the other, well, I'll be honest, I don't really know. They could be fighting for the victory here.
Oh, Fattyam, the ones with the big stakes. You'd imagine realistically, my assumption is there's some sort of a tie break. We'll see how that one works out if we get there. Russgbeat would need to win. For Fattyam, 1-0 up, 1 tie on the first map as well. An unusual scenario, the one that they found themselves in. Now, the battle sees both Stranges on either side having ultimates online, but the follow-up from Wosh could be huge with a Meteor M ready to roll. Immediately the Eye of Agamotto goes in, destroying those immortality fields, and well, the Meteor M wasn't really needed. It was fired into stunned up and gunned up players. This is Fattyam. The dominant start. They've wiped almost the entirety of Russgbeat, and they're chasing them into their spawn to make sure that they get the last. Cody staggered that little bit further.
Start again, but these initial fights haven't always been the defining factor. Tsunami available again to potentially try and do damage, although I think after I feel like the last map we haven't seen a crazy amount of work done from Cody. Already going to see the thieving not only of the ult but also of one of the players. Just mass spam being thrown in. That Tsunami has got absolutely nothing because of the barrier put into play. Well, now they're going to have to be careful. Nice work from Cody, though. That at least clears out Homunculus.
Invisible Woman, there it is. Yeah, Invisible Boundary going to be put through. Mortality Field just faded for Fattyam. They managed to counter with their own Invisible Boundary. Thing is, Not Riddles is jumping around there, ult online, and waiting for a chance to use it. We just saw him tee it up. Just needs to find Invisible Woman. And we would see Russgbeat with a fairly strong hold on this point. They waited out, but the stun goes through, and Eye of Agamotto is caught. Not Riddles, it's caught King Bob, and now no heals, nobody left for Russgbeat except for players to be staggered. No say over how this game flows with 75% on the payload. This is it. They need to get to this point and win this fight here and now, or it's over.
Yeah, again, you see the value of Homunculus on the Wolverine, taking out the Vanguards, being able to do so much damage to those bulkier characters already. Invisible Boundary being used as an attempted committal. Cody's done well. The spam away has done so much damage, and this has been their best chance to take the point, but they have to take the point, otherwise the game is done for them. This should at least be an opportunity to stop the 99%, but they need to go streaking all the way back.
Yes, they can't lose a single fight, and that's really not a good position to be in. Homunculus soon to have last stand. Visible boundary almost online, and Mattyaf has his own support ult. Russgbeat not going to be in the same position. It's Mattyaf to open this up, already stealing an ult. You have to assume it's invisible boundary. Not going to be put through just yet, though. Waiting a moment, and there we go. Activated on the side. It gives them a safe avenue and slows down the players inside, so the shotgun easily connects onto damn KitKat. The Jeff player already deleted, but a response from Russgbeat with the Meteor M. Unfortunately, invisible boundaries online for the other player, the actual invisible woman, and that's going to buy them a little bit more time alongside the immortality field, holding on and dealing damage, but not quite finishing off the players. They're able to fall back to the back line for the heals. But Eye of Agamotto, he's hiding around the corner, and here comes the Eye of Agamotto. He's waiting for his opportunity for Strange to separate from the rest of the squad, for this ult to start to fade away, but instead he's being picked off, he's being lit down. Ult comes in from the Punisher. It's good to start with, and now they can try with Meteor M as well, pushing them right back. The site is claimed and overtime begins. They need to push forward, but that means running into Punisher. It means running into the Eye of Agamotto, and that's not a good plan as they're stunned outside the site. The game comes to an end. It is Fattyam with some impeccable gameplay, phenomenal hero switches as well in the middle of the game that come out ahead.
Yeah, I think they just timed everything to perfection. Watching that invisible boundary come out and then having that available ultimate of the final judgment, it may not have necessarily got those final eliminations, but it just forced them back, removed any shielding that they had, and meant that if they were going to pressure forward, they had to basically just run in dry at the end. And while unfortunately that wasn't quite enough, a series of the finest margins, you have to feel a little bit bad for G-Beats over on the other side. But the fact is, there was only room for one victor in this matchup, and that victor came as Fattyam.
Well, at the end of the day, like you said, Tom, Fattyam did come out as just the better squad, but it was such a fine margin. We got to see a draw here as well. Like, that first point in Tokyo 2099 was just ridiculous, being pushed the full distance. But what an incredible performance as well. You know, it's becoming more and more common to see those Doctor Strange MVPs, but Cody, you got to give a shout out to the SVP coming in on the Squirrel Girl. It's been the second time we've seen it today, and it worked very well. If you didn't see it, if you're only tuning in now, don't worry, because you can catch it all again in the highlights.